fucking insane. I can't believe there's so much going on outside right now. My neighbor is like, well, I don't know why. My neighbor just started listening to like classical music very loudly during the day when he's like working on um little contraptions and like fixing, like tinkering things. I don't know if it'll be picked up. Probably not, but it's very loud to me. But like like he just spends like so many hours outside just like listening to crazy like operatic classical music, like full volume, while he like cleans his car or just works on little projects. He's out of his mind, and I think he used to be or still is like a drug addict, but which is fine, whatever. But it's just kind of insane that happens, and to the point where it's like normally he'll be listening to um I don't know if there's like a saw going on outside. I don't know if that got picked up, but there's like a fucking like buzz saw outside, classical music. It sounds like something out of a fucking torture movie. Um but normally he'll listen to like old school, like really crazy hip hop. Like he listens to like Immortal Tech and like a bunch of like, Chicano rap and shit like that. And recently that's all he's been listening to is fucking insane classical music. This wasn't even supposed to be in the episode. I just started it and I'm like, what the fuck is that noise outside? Um okay, let me do this intro real quick because I already you fucked that up. Hello, 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 and welcome to At All Hours. I'm your host, Greg Ramirez. This is episode number 18, and that will not be cut out. So you will have heard that. That should have been cut out, but it will not. Editor, keep that in. Yeah, pretty insane. I don't know. I don't know what he's doing, but good on him. That dude is a straight up hustler. Like I mean, I don't know if he has a job, but he makes money. And he's also like, hey, I got this thing. Like, do you want it? Or like, do you want, like, just shoot me like $10 for it? And I'm like, no, I don't really need it. And he's like, all right, just give me like $5. And I'm like, I don't need it, but I'll ask him like where it's like the classic, like, well, where did you get it? And he's like, oh, I found it. Like, fell off the back of a truck, like that kind of thing. I'm like, whatever, dude. But he always just like has little adventures and stuff, and always just kind of is doing things and has little projects that he's doing and working on. And I don't know. He's got his whole world like happening. It's like a job, or like a life where it's nothing but side quests, like he doesn't have a main story arc. He's just doing side quests, and it's like that's his whole life is just side quests, which sounds kind of awesome. Kind of takes the pressure off of having to do the main storyline. You just do side quests and shit. That sounds rad. But I mean, he's a hustler. Like, he makes money. He's out of his fucking mind because he just listens to like operatic classical music. Nothing wrong with that. But definitely, I think like now I have this association with like this like really like operatic singing and this and that. Like, I really have it in my head of it being like something you see in like horror movies of like a crazy supervillain kind of thing. So I don't know. Maybe he's not a supervillain, but I definitely think he is a little kooky bananas. Maybe feasting on a little bit too much banana cookies lately. Okay, maybe a little bit too much banana cookies in his brains. Okay, but I do appreciate anyone that knows how to hustle. I had to do that a lot, actually, when when I was living in Whittier, which will be a whole other time in the future where I'll tell stories like that. I already have that planned out. Okay, the Whittier stories, the Whittier Chronicles, as I always refer to them. I have a plan for that in the future, so I'm kind of holding on to those. But at that time, I was like making a bunch of side money, and then when I moved here, where I live now at the crack house, um, I it was just Noelle and I living here at some point, and then I just didn't have any money, so I just like would do anything to make money on the side, or even doing like delivery stuff. Like that's when I was doing Instacart and like DoorDash and shit like that, and just making fucking pennies on the nannerpuss, and it was fine. But I also use like OfferUp a bunch. Like OfferUp's fucking pretty rad to just like get rid of shit. But yeah, it's something I respect. Respect the hustle. Um, and speaking of hustles, there was so right now it's actually um Christmas ish. It's Christmas time. So by the time this comes out, Christmas will have passed. But I mean, right now I still like we'll have our Christmas tree up still. Usually you keep I think people that stop like thinking about Christmas after the 25th, like from up till New Year's, it's Christmas. Come on. You know what I mean? It's like fucking 6 more days. Just let it be Christmas longer, you know? So we still have, we're still going to have like our tree up. Um, but I got a real tree this year. I've got a real tree before. I think maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. I got a real tree, and it was so fucking nice because you come into the house and it smells like pine and it smells like actual Christmas tree, and it's just fucking awesome. It just doesn't compare. Because I would also get like those little like they're like little pine sticks where they're supposed to smell like Christmas tree and like pine tree, and you're like, oh, it smells pretty good, and then you smell like a real tree and you're like, oh, never mind, this smells like fucking plastic and like spray, right? Whatever. So I got a real tree this year, and didn't I mean, when I got the other tree a couple years ago, it was really really expensive. I don't remember how much it was exactly, but it was like close to like $200. I don't know why. It was the first time I ever bought a real tree. Like, I mean, obviously growing up, even if we either had a fake tree or if we had a real tree, I didn't buy it, obviously, when I was like a kid. So I actually bought the tree, and this is like the first time buying my own tree for our house. And I didn't have any point of comparison, you know? I went to a lot and I was like, oh, they have like trees here. The trees look really nice. And it was really fucking expensive. And I felt downright foolish after. But, I mean, whatever. I was like, okay, now I have a point of reference, I guess. And then now, recently, having got another one, I was kind of essentially anticipating the same like amount, kind of, because it's like, well, I paid 200 last time, probably going to be paying 200 ish again. So I just kind of figured let's put that as like the maximum 200, which, I mean, some people might even be thinking right now, like, are you out of your fucking mind? 200, like, that's your maximum? I didn't know, right? So I go to get a tree. I don't want to I don't want to say I like there's if there's any way it would get back to this person. I don't want to say anything about this person or about this place where I got it from, where it could even potentially risk this person getting in trouble. Okay? So I'm not really going to say too much about where I went, who I talked to, whatever. So because I want to tell a story, but I'm not a fucking narc. So I go to this unlisted place in the world, and basically they have like Christmas trees set up outside, and they have like the place that they would normally like sell stuff in that's like attached. So it's like they have like a big setup outside for the season. Um, so I had gone by with Andy recently, like before that, and seen them and like checked out some of the trees, and the trees were really nice. And when I went, the trees were like I mean, obviously for like smaller ones they were like 60, $50, $40. And then they went up to like pretty decent sizes for like $90. I'm like, oh shit, I super got ripped off that one year. Like it clicked pretty quick. Um, so I'm like, okay, well, I'll get one of these trees like at some point. But we'd gone to get something else in the area and just saw the trees, so we're like, let's just take a look real quick. And we're planning on getting one. So we leave, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go back on like one of my days off, and I'm gonna get a tree and come back and set it all up, get it going. Um, and so I go back to this place, and like I said, it's like they have the main area, the main building where they sell stuff, and then the outdoor area that they just have set up for Christmas trees. So I go out just to the tree area. I'm looking around, and then like I'm like looking at trees, and I see one, and it's like it smells good and it looks nice, whatever. It's big, and it's like I think it was like $120 or $130. And I'm thinking like, well, you know what? If I'm willing to spend 90 on this like smaller tree, but I could get this bigger tree for just that much more, like fuck it, I'm just gonna get like I'm happy with spending like 120 something on one of these like bigger trees that I think are nice, and it's like exactly what I want, you know, and it's not fucking $200 like the way I thought. And I'm rich, so whatever. Uh, so I go up to the tree and I'm like looking at it and I'm like, okay, I think this one's nice. So I go up to the front. There's like this like young dude working, and I'm like, hey, I wanted to like look at a tree, and he's like, okay, I got you, and he grabs like some gloves and this and that, and he walks over, and I point at the one that I'm like considering, and he like looks at it, and he's like, he takes his gloves off and puts his hand on it, because it's like all bundled together, right? Because it's like they like twine them and like kind of keep them like bundled, and he like touches it and is like, and I'm like, well, what's like, what do you mean, eh? And he's like, I mean, you can take any tree you want, but this one feels kind of dry. And there's like, he's like, I could check for another tree to see if it's like in a little, you know, better condition. That way, when you take it, you're not, it's like not losing a bunch of needles. It doesn't get all shitty really quick. Like, I just, you know, if you want, I could look. And I'm like, okay, sure. I don't know what the fuck I'm looking for. So, go for it. So he's like, okay. And he starts like moving some of the trees out of the way, and then like touching them and kind of feeling. And then he like shows me like what he's feeling for, and like describes it like where you could feel like the needles are more waxy on like the fresher ones, and then they're more like a little more brittle and like dry. And I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have even looked out for that. I was just like, that one looks cool, whatever. So he goes out of his way to find one that's like in really good like condition, I guess. And he's like, I could open it up for you if you want to take a look at it, so that way you're not just buying it blind. And I was like, sure. So he cuts it open, and the whole time he's being really cool and just talks to me, and like we're just kind of talking, bullshitting. And I'm like, yeah, I want to get it for my house, you know. And I'm like telling him about Andy. I'm telling him about how like I want to like surprise her, get it set up. And he's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, you got to pick the right tree, you know, just talking and bullshitting. And really cool, you know, dude. And eventually I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like, I'll take this one. And he's like, okay. And basically it's like, let's go to the front. And as, as we're going up, he goes to the front. He's like talking to me, and he's like, yeah, you know, normally, it's like, I like talking to a lot of people. I just like talking to people and like trying to hook people up. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay. And he's like, yeah, I mean, for these more expensive trees too, like, I don't know. Sometimes I like to try to give people discounts, especially if they're trying to buy these more expensive ones. And I'm like, okay, like, yeah, that'd be cool. Like, I'm down for that. Like, I'm trying to like figure out what he's like. I'm like, oh, okay, a discount, like that'd be cool. Like, how would that work? And he's like, yeah, I mean, just depends. Like, you know, sometimes people when I talk to people, I come across really cool people. So those kind of cool people, I like to try to give a discount, like hook them up with something. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to like gauge what he's like talking about. Is he flirting with me? Is he like, I don't know, maybe if I go back to your car and you let me jiggle your ball sack a little bit, maybe I'll hook you up with a little discount, you know? And I'm like, you want to jiggle my ball sack? And he's like, just the balls, that's it. I'm like, so you want to go to my car so you can jiggle my ball sack so you can give me a discount? And he's like, yep. And I'm like, okay. And that's what happened. And that's how I got my Christmas tree. Just kidding. He actually did. I actually had to perform fellatio on him to get a discount. But the tree's really nice. So I think that's what really counts in the end. But he actually he was telling me like, yeah, like if I meet people like that are cool, like try to give them a discount, try to hook them up. And I'm like, okay, like what's up then? What's up then? And he's like, well, how about this? It's $120 tree. He's like, shoot me like 40, $50 and I'll load it into your car. I'm like, oh, one of those kind of discounts, huh? And it makes sense too, because I'm sure it's like with like the trees, I'm sure it's so hard to track all of them. It's not like they're like barcoded items, and they're seasonal, and they're probably just gonna get rid of them and trash them all after, like nothing's gonna come of it. So I'm like, okay, like for sure. I'm like, so like what do I do? And he goes, look. So he gives me like the little tag, like the tree has like a barcode on it that you go in and you go into the main store to pay for it, and then you come out and then you show the receipt to the person that's like that has your tree ready to go. Show them the receipt that you bought it, and then they load it onto your car. So I'm like, okay, cool. So he just tells me, just go inside the store. Here, take this with you. So it's like, I'm giving it to you. Go inside and just buy something. Just buy anything. And when you come out, just let me know, and I'll put it in your car. And I'm like, okay, I'll be right back. So, and he's like, then just pull your car up to the side and I'll like load it up real quick, shoot me the money, and that's it. I'm like, all right, cool. And he tells me after, he's like, you know what, just like easy $40, straight flat $40. And I was like, cool, easy. So I go in and now I'm thinking like, I just saved like $80-$90 for talking to this dude. So I'm like, well, now I can buy like Christmas lights and buy a bunch of shit that I'm gonna put on the tree anyway. So I go in there and I buy like some lights, I buy this, I buy that, I buy the giant 6.5 foot tall Buddy the Elf Will Ferrell statue. Have you seen that? It is it is not very cool. Go ahead and put that up, editor. Just kidding. It's pretty fucked up to look at, but I didn't get that. But I did get a bunch of stuff for the tree. So then I go back outside, I throw all my shit in my car, and I pull my car toward the side, go up to him, and he's like, all right, here's the tree. He brings it out. I slip him the $40, and he's like, cool. And I'm like, all right, so how do we do this? Like, do you just like throw it up on top and like wire it like through the windows or something like that? And he's like, yeah, the guy that usually does the tie downs on top of the car, he's not here today. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, I don't know how to do it. I go, so what now? Because like, I can't, I'm not going to I'm not going to come back on another day and be like, hey, I paid for a tree and also I don't have the receipt for it. Give me a tree. Like, so it's like, now I just have to fucking jam it from behind the driver's seat across the car into the passenger seat and just lay it at an angle across. And I mean, it was fine. It worked out. I had to go get my car fucking detailed after that because it was just filled with pine needles and a bunch of bullshit. But, yeah, I got my tree for like, a fraction of of what I actually would have paid for it. And he got $40. Just made $40 like that. And I appreciated it, you know? First of all, he hooked me up, which was just like a fat hookup. I got a $120 tree for $40 and for literally like a third of the price. And then he just got $40. That's it. And it's like it's something I appreciate so much. He's got this whole like, you know, system worked out. Like he's got to talk to them, kind of feel like, okay, I got to feel them out, kind of see like, are you cool? Are you not cool? Like, you know, you got to figure someone out like that. But I appreciated it. Shout out to that dude who I will not mention, who I will not describe in any way, as if anything would happen. I'm sure, but still, you know, you never know. You never know. You never know who's fucking listening. You fucking sneaky snakes. But anyway, yeah, it was pretty cool. Very cool guy. That's not what I wanted to talk about today. So I was just kind of a B plot. But the thing I wanted to talk about was something I'd kind of come across recently. Just kind of that, like the topic had been coming up, and I've been seeing it on like Instagram and stuff. Was old like viral shock videos from the past. So I don't know exactly what it was that like started this kind of resurgence of like people posting about things or like talking about it. I know there was one like it was, I think, like a post that said something like, you know, back in my day, girls only needed like two girls only needed one cup, and it was like an inflation joke or something like that. I don't remember, but it's just like references to old viral like shock videos started just like kind of popping up where people like were posting about stuff or like just kind of talking about stuff. And I always thought that was kind of crazy, that I feel like that's something that just doesn't happen anymore. Maybe because like shock videos are kind of so hard to keep now. And when you post anything, it can get flagged and pulled down like so easily. And that's why even if it contains any sort of like remote graphic nature, it's like it immediately gets pulled down. I've gotten so many of my posts on Instagram taken down, and it's like it makes my account less accessible to people because of like an old post that I had, and I just can't do anything about it. Like Instagram's just like, no, we don't really fuck with you like that, so you just aren't going to be visible to a lot of people now. Which, whatever, right? Maybe I should post more shock videos. But one of them that came up was Two Girls, One Cup. Awesome. Awesome video. Iconic video. If you haven't heard of Two Girls, One Cup, I mean, even I was going to say, you know, what's it like being 5 years old? You know, but even 5-year-olds probably know what Two Girls, One Cup is. Probably not. But I mean, like, 12-year-olds probably know what Two Girls, One Cup is, you know? But Two Girls, One Cup is, I remember where I think I was in middle school when Two Girls, One Cup like kind of debuted, right? And I remember, I remember being, I think there, because I don't remember like what the like what it was that happens in school. I mean, obviously I haven't been in middle school in like 100 years, but it's like where you do testing all day. Like you get to school at like 8 in the morning, and then from 8 till whenever you're out of school, you're just like just doing tests, like just is it SATs? Is that what it is? It's the fucking whatever, I don't know. But you're just filling in the little bubbles and shit. And I remember it was during like a break, because they just kind of break up the day and you take a little like break, I guess. I don't know. And I remember one of my friends, two of the kids in my class were like watching a video, and then they were just like, you dude, you got to check this out. And I'm like, what is it? What is it? And they showed, I think it must have been middle school. And they show me, and I just remember hearing like really gentle piano. I remember really gentle piano, and then it's like two girls that are like, making out, kissing with their mouths even. And I was like, what are they like? Why are they giggling so much? Like, why are they just showing me a video of two girls like making out and like giggling about it? And they're like, dude, you got to check this out. And I'm like, okay. And I continue watching, and then it suddenly cuts to a cup being held, and a girl's ass is now on screen. And then I just remember one of the guys going, ooh, nice ass. And then her ass opens up and she shits into this cup and fills the cup. Fills the cup up. Pretty great, pretty accurate. And then upon filling it up, her and said girl begin to eat the caca in the cup, and they start eating it, and they start making out with the shit in between their mouth. And then once they finish up all their little caca, they start throwing up into each other's mouths back and forth while they masturbate. I was in middle school. It was awesome. Okay, so that had come up recently. Two girls, one cup. Another one that came up. So this is gonna be like a fucking 90-degree shift. Okay, it's a pretty sharp turn that we're stepping into right now, because we're going from some gross shock videos, right? Like two girls, one cup. I'm trying to think of, there must have been another like gross shock video like that was just like kind of escaping me right now. But two girls, one cup was like the iconic one. The thing is, like, the worst ones were the ones that were not just gross. They were a different kind of shock video, gore. And another one that came up recently was which I'm sure it's like the same thing. If you know, you really fucking know, and you remember, is the double cartel beheading video of an uncle and his nephew. Okay, some heavy subject matter that we're going to be getting into. Okay, so heads up for everyone listening. Okay, but there is a video, and it is so after, the thing is, if you watch this cartel video, two girls, one cup is going to be like eye bleach. It's like a pellet cleanser. I would much rather watch two girls, one cup than watch that cartel video. It is pretty brutal, and it's really sad, but it's pretty fucked up. And all it is it's two like shirtless Mexican dudes. They're up against the wall. One's like, they kind of look like Mario and Luigi. One's like skinny and has a little mustache. The other guy's like kind of pudgier, and they're just sitting up against the wall, and they're talking, and they talk about don't get into it with the cartel, which I agree. No disrespect to the cartel. I'm not trying to start anything with the cartel. I'm just, referencing a video. Just talking about it, okay? I'm just describing what happens in the video, okay? So they like kind of describe what it was like, or like they like not to mess with the cartel, don't do anything like that. And it's really fucked up. And then it suddenly the camera kind of backs away a little bit, and a guy comes in with a chainsaw, and the older guy with the mustache who was talking gets hit, like kind of, from what I remember, because I haven't watched this video in like maybe, a minimum of 10 years, and because I would have been about to turn 22. So I could imagine I might have watched it in my like early 20s, but I don't remember. And like after I watched it the first time, I was like, I never want to watch this again. And I watched it a few more times, but It's pretty fucked up. But from what I remember, he takes the chainsaw to the front of his neck, and it, like, as soon as it hits his neck, it just like rips open, but it doesn't catch right away. So it just kind of like cuts his throat open and sprays onto his nephew, and then he just kind of, like, the guy pulls away for a second and then just lays into it and just chainsaws his whole fucking head off right next to his nephew. So now it's like his corpse falls over onto him, and he's like spraying blood onto him, and then within a couple seconds, someone else comes into frame. Not gonna double chainsaw, okay? That'd be weird, kind of gay if you chainsaw one man with another man's chainsawed blood on it, okay? Instead, someone decides, you know what would be more fun? I'm going to cut his head off with a hunting knife, and proceeds to come up and grab his head and start sawing into his head with a hunting knife. Like a sharp hunting knife, but like a hunting knife, not like a saw where it'll rip through everything. It's just like slicing into his neck. And he starts cutting through his windpipe, and you could hear him trying to breathe. And then eventually he gets to the point where he has to try to contend with a little something called your spine. And he just starts like trying to saw through his neck, and it won't go anymore. So then he just starts hacking at the fucking spinal cord to try to, fully decapitate him. And every time he hits his spine, his whole body just jerks. And then eventually he gets through his spine and cuts his spine off, or cuts his neck off, takes the rest of his head off. And that's that. Two pretty iconic shock videos for the time. And also Rickrolls. Yeah, Rickrolled. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty fucked up. Like, it could be either of the three of them. Someone will send you a video, and it'll be like, hey, check out this like clip of this, like, this thing being usually it's like an inspirational thing where they're like, oh my god, check out this clip of like a kid being reunited with their parents. And then you open a link, and then it's immediately a chainsaw decapitation video, and you're like, oh wow, this has altered my views on the rest of the world forever now. Or Two Girls One Cup, which you're like, okay, well, this is bad, but it's no chainsaw decapitation. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, player? But there was a few of them. There was a few other ones. There was like the what is it? It's like Three Guys, One Hammer. I saw that one. That one was still gives me a fucking like the heebie-jeebies. That one, I don't really remember it too much. I feel like I did try to block that one from my memory a little bit. That one I watched one time, and that was it. I was like, I can never watch that again, because it was like someone who, I think they were like two kids, and they were committing like murders through Russia, I think I want to say. And they're going through, and they're just like murdering people with hammers. And one of them they recorded, because I think they were trying to make snuff films. And which, by the way, if you're wondering, a snuff film is a film where you record someone being murdered, but you're doing it with the intent of like distributing it and selling it. So that's kind of it's a weird distinction and like gray area for like what dictates a snuff film. Because it's kind of like if you record yourself killing someone, it's technically not a snuff film, because you're just recording yourself murdering someone. But if you're like, if you were gonna sell it to someone, or if that's why you did it, like someone hired you, or like, I'll give you this much money to record yourself murdering someone, then you do it. That's a snuff film. Like that's the film was specifically made to like make money. So it's a weird gray area, but whatever. So I think they were trying to do that. They were basically making like snuff films. They were apparently being like hired by people to make these kinds of movies. And one of them was Three Guys, One Hammer. and which I don't know what was up with that, like, because it was like they were all named like that, Two Girls One Cup, um, which is just an iconic setup. But then it was like three guys, one hammer, and it was two guys killing one guy with a hammer by beating his face in with a hammer, and he's like on the floor, and they just like are smashing the front of his skull in, and like his whole face is just like a puddle of like broken bones and meat, and you could kind of still see like the features of his face, but it's basically just like a fucking mass of like raw hamburger beef at this point, and they're just like poking at it and picking at his face and shit and laughing at him. It's pretty gruesome. But then there was like it was the same thing. Uh two guys, one chainsaw. Was that one? I don't think that's what it was called. I think it was just like the cartel video. That one was like super big. And then I've just seen a bunch of other like gore and like, you know, things like that. But like, I think the distinction was the fact that these videos got passed around a lot. You know, it was kind of like the cartel video got passed around a lot. The Two Girls One Cup got passed around a lot. You know, there was a lot of those videos that were viral shock videos. It wasn't just like you know, just like shock videos or just gore videos. It was specifically like viral videos that were going around for like a certain amount of time. And I think that was kind of like the biggest distinction with them. And it was pretty fucked. But good times. Good times during that weird era of like, it was like, I mean, I guess high school for me. That was 15 years ago. What the fuck? So, yeah, like 2009, 2008, MySpace era. Pretty cool, pretty fun stuff. You remember all those shock videos? Me too. But there was also there was something that like I'd also come across recently that I'm not sure if you guys know about this. Because now that we're talking about like that time of like 2005 to 2010 kind of era, for me it would have been like middle school to high school ish. Um, there was something. So during this time, during during that time, I would have been like in middle school, going into high school. You know, people are sharing videos like this. People are talking about gore. People's heads are getting cut off. People are shitting into each other's mouths. Well, into cups and then into their mouths. But then this is also the beginning of like the glory times of like MySpace. Like this is before like MySpace was like huge what it was, and then it was just like massive. MySpace was everything. How could you not have like your top list of like people, like your top 8 or something, your top 5 people in fucking MySpace, dude. I remember people I remember people moving people around in their top list because of like something that they, like a dispute that they had. So yeah, it was a pretty weird time. Weird time to have a MySpace. I had my own MySpace. I remember there was websites dedicated to just making like um stuff for like, I guess like I don't remember how to like what it's like your page like layout. Like when you go to someone's like profile, and it's like when it opens up, it shows like the full like, oh, the background and kind of like the text and everything. You could go to like certain websites that would make those like codes. I guess you would have to like kind of code it into your page. And there's websites that would exist just for that, where you'd go there and they're like, oh, this is like a gothic kind of style where it changes this and this and has this background. Oh, if you have these ones that are like animated, and you copy and paste it into your thing, and then it displays it on your page. Pretty insane. And then you'd have your song, of course. Of course, dude, are you kidding me? Your song that comes on when you go to your page. I don't remember what mine is, or what mine was, I guess. But it was quite a time. I remember my first friend on MySpace was a British girl named Natasha, And on her profile, I added her as a friend just because she like popped up, and I was like, okay, I'll be friends. And I requested her because I think that's what you did. Like, you follow someone or you request someone. I don't know, but she had a on her profile page. She had gorillas, and then the song that played was "Electric Feel" by MGMT. It's so crazy. And I was like, this is my first friend, and she was in my top friends of two people now, Tom and her. So pretty crazy. But I don't remember exactly what I had. It was probably like Bring Me the Horizon or like The Devil Wears Prada or something like that. And which I'm happy with. I feel like is a pretty solid, pretty solid thing to look back at and be like okay, pretty cool. But I don't remember what my page looked like at all. Um, I just like nothing comes to mind. Like I don't remember anything about it. I remember I used to have um, writing up on my thing where it was like because I think you had like stuff that you can add onto your page, and one of the things that I had was like I would post stories that I was like writing, and I remember one of them was like this like long kind of like Alice in Wonderland style story. There was another one about like some other like killers or something like that. I had a bunch of stories that I'd post, and that was like part of my MySpace page. Pretty crazy. Um, but it also reminds me of something that like I said, I came across recently about something that not everyone would probably know about. I'm sure. But in Mexico during this time, there was something that was called the emo punk war of 2008. What is that? It is exactly what it sounds like. So during this time in Mexico, there was a feud developing where kids who were emo were being like bullied and harassed by kids who were punks because they said that the emo kids were basically taking their style and they're kind of this and they're like making like a bastardized version of punk, and that punk's like been around for so long, and emo is like this new thing and it's just ripping off punk. They're ripping off their hairstyles, they're ripping off like their some of their music, and it's just like it became this whole mess. And then on the emo side, they're like distinctively different, and it's like, why can't we have our own thing? And like, fuck this, we're not taking this from you guys just because you're like gatekeeping whatever the fuck you think. And it was like a huge weird war. It's also like just like weird to be like caught in that and to be so like passionate about it, but people are bullying and like being harassed online. And eventually, so which I mean fine, right? Online bullying, love it. Okay? I mean, who here hasn't bullied people continuously online for years? Right? Just kidding. But it is like kind of insane to have that where you're like bullying someone um over being like emo, and you're a punk and you're like, I don't know, it just kind of seemed crazy. But that wasn't even the best part. The best part about it was the fact that during this time, the emos wanted to uh, congregate. They wanted to get together, and their intent was to basically protest, like peacefully protest, and show support to one another by showing up and being emo together, I guess. So they were going to protest against the punks. And the emos started planning and coordinating where they're going to meet and where they're going to go and basically show up and just kind of show that like this is their own style. This is how, this is the style that they have, that they created. this is how they're uniquely different from like punks, and that this is their own culture, like they're a subculture of something, you know? And that was the only thing. They wanted to peacefully congregate in order to showcase their own differences with, compared to other people, aka the punks. Now, the punks caught wind of this and decided that that's not going to fly. So the punks decided to come to this emo protest and riot and fight the emos that are there. So they show up. So there's all these emos that are congregating here, and these punks show up, and immediately they just start fighting and screaming at each other, and it becomes like a fucking riot where there's like police officers there trying to separate kids with Liberty spikes from kids with choppy fucking poofy spiky hair. And they don't know who's on whose side, because to them there's all these like Mexican police officers who are like, all of you guys look exactly the same. And they're like, no, it's not. It's a subgenre. No, we're unique in our own identities. They stole from, and they're like, what is happening? What do you guys, who gives a fuck? What are you guys talking about? You guys look exactly the same. And all your music sounds like shit. And so now you have all these punks on one side, and you have all these emos on the other side, and they're all screaming at each other and trying to fight each other. They have fucking belts with like studs on them that they're like trying to hit each other with. They have like, all the emos are taking off the brass knuckles from their belts, and all the punks are taking off the spikes from their jackets. And it's like, it was a full on war of just emos and punks where the police had to try to come and intervene and break it up because it was just getting to be too much. And they couldn't. And the only reason it stopped, it wasn't the police that like stopped it. It was all these kids that were fighting and trying to go to war with each other to defend their own side of it. And the only reason it stopped is because for some reason there was a group of robed Hare Krishna monks that came chanting through the area that they were in. So if the police didn't think they were having a weird enough fucking day, they have a bunch of punks on one side, a bunch of emos on the other side, and they're all like running across each other, fighting, fucking each other up, just screaming and howling at each other. And then in the distance, there's like drums, boom, 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 and then chanting in like fucking, what are they called? The little tambourines, little tambos and shit. And everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? And then Hare Krishna monks show up, and they're chanting and they're praying. And this is so jarring that I don't know if it's out of confusion or out of respect, whatever it is. It causes the emos and the punks to stop fighting, because now, there's like monks essentially chanting and marching between them, and it kind of splits up the fight. It kind of ends the fight, because now it's like you can't like lose all that steam, but it's like I'm not gonna fight you and like potentially hurt all these like peaceful monks that are just praying and chanting in the street. So it ends. The police they're like, whatever. And it's just like they all stop because these Hare Krishna monks show up and they're chanting and praying, and it kind of causes everyone to just kind of snap out of it, and they're like, whatever. And that was the end of that war, the emo punk war of 2008 in Mexico, en Espanol. And I don't know, it was just something I came across, and I looked into it a little bit, and there's not much to it, but it was enough to be like, what happened here? And that's I'm sure there's more to it if you do like a deep dive, but there might not be. Everyone was very passionate during that time. And now, who cares? It's crazy to see now, though, that there's like people who are 18 or 19 dressing the way I dressed when I was like 10. And, it just kind of goes into this weird generational jump. But, yeah. Moral of the story, keep those monks on deck, And, also, I guess, like, bring back shock videos. Maybe I wouldn't want that. Now that I think about it again, having to gather myself from previous shock videos. Yeah, maybe we'll leave that in the past. Maybe we'll leave everything in the past. But what we should bring back is MySpace, because that is episode number 18 of At All Hours. Got kind of a short one today, guys. I didn't really have much to talk about, clearly, but the things I did want to talk about, I wanted to cover. So, thanks for listening. I'll see you guys again soon. We're coming up on season 2 of At All Hours. Season 2 and episode number 20. Oh my god, where's all the time gone? Oh my god. Okay, whatever. Okay, bye.